The sleek silver spacecraft descended through Earth's atmosphere, leaving a trail of blue light in its wake. It landed with surprising gentleness on the specially constructed platform at the Global Unity Complex in Geneva. A crowd of important people waited nervously: politicians, military officers, scientists, and journalists from around the world. This was a historic day. The first official representative from the Galactic Federation was arriving on Earth. Allison Carter stood at the front of the welcoming committee. Her hands were slightly shaking, though she kept them clasped firmly behind her back. At 32, she was young for a diplomat of her rank, but her understanding of alien cultures and calm approach to challenging situations had earned her this role. Today, she would meet the being she would work with for the next 6 months. Nervous? Asked her colleague Steve Mason, standing beside her. Trying not to be, Allison replied, keeping her eyes on the spacecraft. 3 years of communications, and now we finally meet face to face. The ship's door slid open with a soft hiss. A tall figure stood in the doorway, hesitating for just a moment before stepping forward into Earth's sunlight. Consul Zorax of the Azurian people was taller than most humans, standing close to 7 feet. His skin was a deep blue with intricate silver markings that seemed to shift slightly when he moved. He had no hair, but a series of small ridges along his scalp. His eyes were large and completely black, yet somehow warm. He wore formal robes in shades of blue and silver that matched his skin. Allison stepped forward as practiced. Consul Zorax, on behalf of the nations of Earth, welcome to our world. I am Allison Carter, your assigned liaison. Zorax bowed slightly. When he spoke, his voice was deeper than expected but perfectly clear in English. Liaison Carter, I bring greetings from the Galactic Federation and my homeworld, Azuria. It is an honor to finally stand on the soil of Earth. The formal introductions continued as Allison introduced the Earth officials. Cameras flashed and recorded every moment. History was being made. Later that day, Allison showed Zorax to his living quarters in the diplomatic wing. The rooms had been specially prepared based on information about Azurian needs and preferences. I hope everything is suitable, Allison said, watching as Zorax examined the space. Zorax turned to her with what she recognized as a smile, though his facial expressions were different from human ones. It is more than suitable. You have even included flowering plants from my region of Azuria. I am impressed by such attention to detail. We wanted you to feel at home, Allison explained. Though unsure, there are many things we've gotten wrong. Please don't hesitate to ask for adjustments. Actually, Zorax said, his voice taking on a lighter tone, there is one thing humans seem to misunderstand about my species. Allison tensed slightly. What's that? We are not as serious as you seem to think. Your welcome ceremony was very formal. On Azuria, we would have included music and dancing. Allison blinked in surprise, then laughed. I'll remember that for next time. The briefings described Azurians as dignified and protocol-oriented. We are, Zorax said, his eyes crinkling at the corners, but we also enjoy life. Perhaps this is our first cultural exchange. Something in his manner put Allison at ease. Despite his alien appearance, there was a warmth and intelligence about him that felt familiar somehow. Our first meeting is tomorrow at 9, she said. We have 6 months of negotiations ahead of us. I look forward to it, Zorax replied. Earth has only recently joined our galactic community. There is much for us both to learn. As Allison left the diplomatic quarters, she felt a strange mix of excitement and unease. Working closely with Zorax would be unlike anything she had done before. Earth was still seen as a primitive world by many in the galaxy. The next 6 months would determine humanity's place among the stars. She didn't know it yet, but these negotiations would change not just Earth's future, but her own life in ways she could never imagine. 2 weeks after Zorax's arrival, Allison found herself driving the alien consul along the California coastline. The diplomatic meetings had been going well, But Zorax had expressed a desire to see more of Earth than just conference rooms and official buildings. "This is the Pacific Ocean," Allison said as she pulled over at a scenic viewpoint. "It covers almost half of our planet." Zorax stepped out of the car and walked to the railing. The breeze ruffled his formal robes as he stared at the endless blue water. Allison joined him, watching his face for reactions. "It's beautiful," Zorax said finally. "My world, Azuria, has very little water. Most of it is desert and mountains." He turned to her, his black eyes reflecting the sunlight. "We have to be very careful with water. To see so much of it in one place, it's almost hard to believe." They stood in comfortable silence for a while, watching the waves crash against the rocks below. "The sound is so peaceful," Zorax said. "May we go closer?" Allison nodded and led him down a trail to a small, secluded beach. Zorax removed his shoes. His feet were similar to human ones, but with only 4 toes, and stepped into the wet sand. His face showed pure joy. "On my world, this much water would be worth more than all the treasure in the galaxy," he said. Later that day, they stopped at a small restaurant for lunch. Zorax had been eager to try human food, and Allison had chosen a place that offered simple dishes. "This pizza is wonderful," Zorax said, carefully picking up a slice. "The combination of flavors is unlike anything on Azuria." "I'm glad you like it," Allison replied, smiling. She was beginning to enjoy Zorax's company more than she had expected. His curiosity about Earth was genuine, and he approached everything with an open mind. As they ate, a group of children came into the restaurant. They spotted Zorax immediately and stared in wonder. One brave little boy approached their table. "Are you really an alien?" he asked. Zorax turned to the child and smiled gently. "Yes, I am from a planet called Azuria, very far from here." "Cool. Can you do magic or shoot lasers from your eyes?" Zorax laughed, a surprisingly human sound. "No, but I can do this." He touched a silver marking on his arm, and it glowed briefly with soft light. The children gasped in delight. Their parents apologized for the interruption, but Zorax assured them he didn't mind. "You're good with kids," Allison noted as they left the restaurant. "Children are similar across the galaxy," Zorax replied. "Curious and honest. On my world, we value these qualities highly." That evening, back at the diplomatic compound, Allison's friend John Miller stopped by her office. "I hear you took our guests sightseeing today," John said, sitting on the edge of her desk. "Yes, I think it's important he sees more of Earth than just our meeting rooms." John frowned slightly. "Just be careful, Allison. Getting too friendly with the consul could affect your judgment. Remember, your job is to represent Earth's interests." "I know that," Allison replied, feeling somewhat defensive. "But understanding each other's cultures will help the negotiations." After John left, Allison found herself thinking about Zorax. He was so different from humans in many ways, yet she felt comfortable with him. There was something about his perspective, the way he saw Earth with fresh eyes, that made her see her own world differently. The next day, Zorax surprised her by bringing a small device to their meeting. "I want to show you my home," he said, activating the device. A 3-dimensional hologram appeared, showing a landscape of red-orange sands and towering crystal formations under twin suns. "It's beautiful," Allison said, reaching out to touch the image, her hand passing through it. "This is where I grew up," Zorax said softly. "When I volunteered for this assignment, many thought I was making a mistake, but I've always been fascinated by humans and your world." Their eyes met across the hologram, and Allison felt a strange connection forming between them, a bridge across the stars that neither had expected to build. 1 month into the diplomatic mission, Allison sat nervously in Director Susan Lang's office. The older woman looked at her with concern across the desk. "Allison, we need to talk about your work with Consul Zorax," Director Lang said, tapping a folder on her desk. Some people are concerned about how much time you're spending with him outside of official meetings. Allison straightened in her chair. It's part of my job to help him understand Earth. Cultural exchange is important for successful negotiations. I agree, Director Lang said, but Admiral Peterson from Earth Defense Force has expressed concerns. He thinks you might be sharing too much information. That's ridiculous, Allison said, feeling her face grow warm. Everything we discuss is within my clearance level. Director Lang sighed. Just be careful. This is the first time we've had a Federation representative here. The stakes are high. Allison left the meeting feeling frustrated. What she didn't know was that Zorax was having similar problems. In his private quarters, Zorax was speaking with his superior via holographic communication. High Consul Vex's image flickered with disapproval. Reports indicate you are becoming too familiar with the humans, particularly your liaison, Vex said, his silver markings glowing with agitation. Remember your position, Zorax. Earth is still considered a developing world. With all respect, High Consul, Zorax replied. Understanding their culture helps our diplomatic mission. Some members of the Federation Council are concerned you are going native, as the humans would say. Do not forget your primary duties. After the call ended, Zorax sat quietly, troubled by the conversation. The next day, tensions rose during a negotiation session. Earth representatives, led by Admiral Frank Peterson, refused a technology transfer that would have given humans access to faster-than-light communication. We cannot provide this technology to a world that has not demonstrated full stability, Zorax explained, following Federation policy despite his personal disagreement with it. Admiral Peterson stood up, his face red with anger. So we're good enough to trade with, but not good enough to be treated as equals. The room fell silent. Allison could see Zorax struggling with his response. Perhaps we can find a compromise, Allison suggested, stepping in. What if we create a joint research project instead? Humans and Federation scientists working together. Zorax looked at her with something like admiration. That might be acceptable. A shared development would build trust on both sides. After 2 hours of difficult discussion, they reached an agreement. As the meeting ended, Admiral Peterson approached Allison. Convenient how you sided with the alien, he said quietly. Whose interests are you representing, Ms. Carter? Earth's interests are best served by cooperation, not conflict, she replied firmly. Later that evening, Allison and Zorax walked through the diplomatic compound's garden, discussing the day's events. You were brilliant today, Zorax said. Your compromise solution satisfied both sides. I just want this to work, Allison admitted. There's so much we could learn from each other. Zorax stopped walking and turned to her. Not everyone shares your vision. My superiors are concerned about my closeness to humans, to you. Allison felt a strange flutter in her chest. My bosses said similar things. Perhaps they sense what I have been reluctant to acknowledge, Zorax said, his voice softer than usual. My feelings for you have grown beyond professional respect, Allison. Before she could respond, a small drone buzzed nearby, its camera lens glinting in the garden lights. They both recognized it as a news drone. We should go inside, Allison said quickly, suddenly aware of how close they were standing. What neither of them knew was that the drone had captured their intimate conversation. By morning, their words and images would be spreading across both Earth and Federation news networks, creating a diplomatic crisis neither was prepared to handle. The morning after their garden conversation, Allison woke to her phone buzzing constantly. She had 17 missed calls and dozens of messages. With growing dread, she opened the first news alert. Human diplomat and alien consul. More than professional. The image showed her and Zorax standing close in the garden, looking into each other's eyes. Allison dressed quickly and rushed to the diplomatic compound. Security guards gave her curious looks as she passed. When she reached Zorax's office, he was speaking with someone via hologram. He motioned for her to wait. This is exactly what I warned about. The holographic figure was saying, "The Federation has strict rules about relationships with representatives from developing worlds. You will return to Azuria immediately. With respect, I request formal review of this decision." Zorax replied firmly, "My work here is not complete." After ending the call, Zorax turned to Allison. "I assume you've seen the news." She nodded. "It's everywhere. What do we do?" "First, we must be honest with each other," Zorax said quietly. "Was what I said in the garden unwelcome to you?" Allison took a deep breath. No, it wasn't unwelcome at all. For a moment, neither spoke. The admission hung in the air between them. "There are rules against this," Zorax finally said. "Federation officials are forbidden from forming personal relationships with citizens of developing worlds. It's considered an abuse of position." "That's ridiculous," Allison said. "Earth may be new to the galactic community, but we're not children." Later that day, Allison met with her roommate, Lisa Green, at their apartment. "I can't believe you're in every newscast," Lisa said, turning off the television. "Are you okay?" "I don't know," Allison admitted. "Everything's happening so fast. 2 months ago, I'd never met an alien. Now I'm—" She hesitated. "Falling for one." Lisa finished with a gentle smile. "It's all over your face when you talk about him." "Is it that obvious?" Allison groaned. "Only to someone who knows you," Lisa assured her. "So what will you do?" "I don't know. There are so many complications." The next evening, Allison and Zorax met secretly at a quiet cafe owned by Lisa's brother, who closed it early for them. "I've been researching Federation regulations," Allison said. "The rules about relationships seem based on old colonial thinking." "They are," Zorax agreed. "Many newer Federation members oppose these regulations, but change comes slowly in a system with hundreds of species." "There's something you should know," he continued, looking more serious. "Azurians mate for life. When we form a bond, it is permanent. My feelings for you are not casual." Allison reached across the table and took his hand. His skin felt warmer than a human's, with a slight vibration that seemed to match her pulse. "Tell me about your world," she said. "If we're breaking all the rules, I should at least know what I'm getting into." Zorax smiled, his black eyes reflecting the candlelight. "On Azuria, we live in crystal cities that shine like stars at night. Our families are small but close. We value harmony and knowledge above all else." As they talked, Allison shared her own history, growing up in a small town, losing her parents young, working her way through diplomatic service. Hours passed as they discovered each other's worlds. Before they left, Zorax hesitated, then leaned forward. "In my culture, this is how we show affection," he said, gently touching his forehead to hers. A warm, pleasant sensation spread through Allison's mind, like sunshine after rain. Neither noticed the small drone hovering outside the window, its camera focused on their intimate moment. Owned by the Federation's intelligence service, it transmitted everything directly to High Consul Vex. Back on his homeworld, Vex watched the footage with narrowed eyes. "This has gone far enough," he said to his aides. "Prepare the recall order. Send it to every news outlet in the Federation." Allison woke to the sound of her phone ringing. It was 5:30 in the morning. Director Lang's voice was tight with stress. "Turn on your television now," she said, "and come to the office immediately." Allison switched on the news and froze. On the screen was a clear image of her and Zorax at the cafe, their foreheads touching in the Azurian gesture of affection. The headline read, "Federation Consul in Forbidden Relationship with Human Diplomat." Her phone began ringing again. Reporters, colleagues, even her old college friends. She ignored them all and drove straight to the diplomatic compound. Security was tight, with protesters already gathering outside. Some held signs supporting the relationship, with messages like, "Love has no species," and "Humans welcome in the stars." Others carried angry slogans, "Earth first," and "No alien influence." Inside, the situation was chaotic. Staff members stared as she walked by. In the main conference room, Director Lang, Admiral Peterson, and several government officials were watching multiple news feeds. On one screen, the Federation Council was in emergency session. Consul Zorax must be recalled immediately, a tall, green-skinned alien was saying. This violation of protocol threatens the integrity of our diplomatic course. Where is Zorax? Allison asked. In his quarters, receiving similar orders from his superiors. Director Lang replied. Allison, what were you thinking? Before she could answer, Admiral Peterson stepped forward. She wasn't thinking. She was compromised by alien influence. This could be their plan to manipulate Earth. That's ridiculous, Allison said angrily. There's no manipulation. We're two adults who connected despite our differences. A young aide entered the room. Ma'am, you need to see this. It's going viral on all networks. On the main screen appeared new footage. Zorax standing before a Federation communication device, speaking calmly but with intensity. To all citizens of the galaxy, I am Zorax of Azuria, Consul to Earth. Today I face recall because I have formed a bond with a human diplomat. I reject this order on principle. The regulations forbidding relationships between Federation officials and citizens of newer worlds are based on outdated beliefs about superiority. They go against the very principles of unity the Federation claims to uphold. The room fell silent as everyone watched. My feelings for Allison Carter are genuine, Zorax continued. They are not a diplomatic incident or a scandal. They are proof that connection is possible across the stars. I ask you all, is this not what the Federation was created to foster? Understanding between different peoples. The broadcast cut off suddenly, but the damage was done. The speech was being shared across every planet in the Federation. He's made things worse, Admiral Peterson said. This will only inflame tensions. Allison slipped out of the room and rushed to Zorax's quarters. Guards stood outside but let her pass after a moment's hesitation. Inside, Zorax was sitting calmly, watching the reaction to his speech on multiple screens. What have you done? Allison asked. What I believe is right, he replied. The Federation needs to change. Perhaps this is how it begins. On the screens, the story was spreading faster than any news in galactic history. Memes and edited videos appeared across social networks. Some mocked them, but many more showed support. On one feed, a young Azurian and her human partner appeared, saying, "We've been hiding our relationship for years. Thank you, Consul Zorax, for your courage." Similar messages began pouring in from across the galaxy. Other human-alien couples were coming forward, revealing relationships they had kept secret. Allison's phone buzzed with an official message. She was suspended from diplomatic duties pending investigation. Zorax showed her his own device, displaying a formal recall order. "What happens now?" she asked. Zorax took her hand. "Now we find out if love between different worlds is stronger than centuries of prejudice." Outside, the crowds grew larger, their voices rising as the biggest story in the galaxy unfolded. 3 days after Zorax's speech, the situation had grown even larger. What had started as a scandal was turning into a movement. Zorax had been ordered to remain in his quarters while the Federation Council debated his fate. Allison was similarly confined to her apartment, with reporters camped outside her building. "You need to see this," Lisa said, turning up the volume on the television. A popular talk show was featuring a panel of experts discussing human-alien relationships. "The science is clear," said Dr. Alan White, a leading xenobiologist. "Many intelligent species across the galaxy are compatible in ways we never imagined. The old barriers were more about politics than biology." The host turned to another guest, a Federation historian. "Is there precedent for this kind of relationship?" "There are legends and rumors, but this is the first high-profile case that can't be ignored," the historian replied. "What makes it remarkable is the public response." The screen showed images from planets across the Federation. young aliens and humans gathering in support of Zorax and Allison. On some worlds, ancient laws were already being challenged. Allison's phone rang. It was Zorax. "Can you meet me?" he asked. "The Federation has agreed to let me make one public appearance to explain my position. I want you there with me." 2 hours later, under the watchful eyes of both Earth and Federation security, Allison and Zorax stood together on a stage at the Global Unity Center. Billions across the galaxy watched. Zorax spoke first, his voice calm but passionate. "I came to Earth as a representative of the Galactic Federation. I expected to negotiate treaties and trade agreements. I did not expect to find a connection that would change my understanding of what unity between worlds could mean." He looked at Allison, then continued. "The Federation was founded on the belief that different species could work together for the common good. Yet we created rules that keep us separate in the most basic ways. We call some worlds developing and treat their people as less than equals. Today, I challenge that thinking." Cameras flashed as he reached for Allison's hand. "My feelings for this human are not a diplomatic incident. They are proof that the barriers between us are smaller than we thought." When it was Allison's turn to speak, she faced the camera steadily. "I am a diplomat. I was trained to look for common ground between different cultures. With Zorax, I found that the differences between us matter less than what we share: hopes, dreams, the capacity for understanding and love." She paused, looking directly into the main camera. "Humans are new to the galactic community. We have much to learn. But perhaps we have something to teach as well. That courage to connect across differences is the true path to unity." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Social networks across 1,000 worlds lit up with reactions. Young people especially embraced their message. On dozens of planets, other couples began sharing their own stories of cross-species relationships. Federation scholars began researching the phenomenon in earnest. One prominent sociologist gave an interview stating, "This could be the most significant cultural shift in Federation history. What these two have started cannot be contained by outdated regulations." Not everyone was supportive. Conservative elements in the Federation threatened sanctions against Earth. Several older species spoke of leaving the Federation if standards were abandoned. On Earth, groups worried about alien influence grew louder in their protests. That evening, Allison received an unexpected call from the president of the Global Council. "Ms. Carter, I wanted you to know. The Council just voted. Earth officially supports your right to pursue this relationship. We will not enforce the Federation's recall order against Consul Zorax. If they want him, they'll have to come get him." When Allison told Zorax the news, he was quiet for a moment. "This has become bigger than us," he said finally. "Is that a problem?" Allison asked. "No," Zorax replied, his eyes meeting hers. "It means what we feel matters not just to us, but to the future of how different worlds connect. Our love has become a revolution." A week after Earth's Global Council announced its support for Zorax and Allison, the Federation Council called an emergency session. Representatives from 200 worlds gathered in the Great Crystal Dome on the Federation capital planet. The session was broadcast across the galaxy, with record-breaking viewership. On Earth, Allison and Zorax watched from a secure room in the diplomatic compound. The tension in the air was thick enough to touch. "The first item on our agenda," announced the Council President, a tall being with silvery skin, "is the matter of Consul Zorax of Azuria and his relationship with Earth diplomat Allison Carter." High Consul Vex stood to speak. "This is not just about two individuals. This is about the foundation of Federation policy. Earth is still a probationary member. If we allow this precedent, what's next? The rules exist for good reasons." A representative from Telluria, a planet known for its progressive views, responded. "What reasons? Fear, prejudice. Our studies show no harm from interspecies relationships. This is about control, not protection." The debate grew heated. Several older Federation members threatened to revoke Earth's membership entirely. Others threatened to leave the Federation if the relationship was banned. Back on Earth, Allison received a call from Captain Nicole Wong of the Earth ship Stargazer. "Ms. Carter, I want you to know that if the Federation tries to forcibly recall Consul Zorax, my crew and I are prepared to offer him asylum. We're not the only ones, either." "Thank you, Captain," Allison said, touched by the support. "Let's hope it doesn't come to that." As the Federation debate continued, a new development surprised everyone. A small ship landed at the Earth diplomatic compound. Inside were 5 blue-skinned Azurians, Zorax's family. His mother, Ilara, approached Allison with a serious expression. "We have come to see this human who has captured our son's heart and caused such turmoil." The meeting was tense at first. Zorax's family had traveled for days, concerned about the scandal and its effect on their family standing. They examined Allison with curious, slightly suspicious eyes. "What do you see in our son?" Ilara asked directly. Allison took a deep breath. "I see someone wise but humble, someone who values truth over convenience. I see someone who makes me laugh and think at the same time. I see someone who looks at stars I've known all my life and helps me see them in new ways." Something in Ilara's expression softened. "You speak from the heart. This is good." Over the next few hours, as they shared a meal together, the tension gradually eased. Zorax's father, an expert in ancient Azurian culture, mentioned something unexpected. "There are old stories," he said carefully, "about the star-crossed ones who would form bonds across the void. Some of our oldest texts speak of unions with beings from distant worlds as a sign of great change." "You never mentioned these stories before," Zorax said, surprised. "They were considered myths, not history," his father replied. "But watching you two, I wonder." Meanwhile, the Federation debate had taken an unexpected turn. Galactic polling data was presented showing that across most worlds, citizens supported changing the relationship laws. Younger generations especially viewed the restrictions as outdated. Several important trading worlds threatened economic consequences if Earth was punished for supporting the couple. The balance was shifting. That evening, Allison and Zorax received word that the Federation Council was deadlocked. To break the impasse, they had decided to put the matter to a formal vote the next day, whether to change the interspecies relationship laws or enforce the traditional rules. "Whatever happens tomorrow," Zorax said, holding Allison close, "we've already changed the galaxy. Love between worlds is no longer theoretical. It's real." Outside the compound, supporters had gathered, holding lights that shimmered in the darkness like stars brought down to Earth. Their message was clear. The future of the galaxy should be built on connection, not separation. The day of the Federation Council vote arrived. Across the galaxy, billions watched their screens. On Earth, Allison and Zorax waited together, hands clasped tightly. "Whatever happens," Allison said softly, "we face it together." Zorax nodded, his blue skin slightly paler than usual with stress. His family sat nearby, having decided to stay and support their son regardless of the outcome. The Federation Council chamber was packed. After hours of final debate, the Council President called for the vote. One by one, representatives from each world registered their decision. The room was silent except for the soft sound of votes being recorded. When the last vote was cast, the Council President stood. By a vote of 127 to 73, the Council has decided to reform the interspecies relationship laws. Relationships between Federation officials and citizens of all member worlds, including probationary members, will no longer be prohibited. Cheers erupted across thousands of worlds. In the diplomatic compound on Earth, Allison hugged Zorax tightly, tears streaming down her face. His family surrounded them, offering Azurian blessings. "This is only the beginning," Zorax whispered to Allison. "Now we build something new." 2 months later, on a beautiful spring day, Allison stood in a garden filled with flowers from both Earth and Azuria. She wore a dress that combined human and Azurian wedding traditions, white with delicate blue and silver patterns that matched Zorax's skin. Zorax waited for her under an arch of intertwined plants. Around them, 200 guests from across the galaxy watched. Billions more viewed the ceremony through live broadcasts. The first officially recognized human-alien wedding was about to begin. The ceremony combined traditions from both worlds. They exchanged vows in both English and the musical Azurian language. When Zorax spoke the Azurian bonding words, his skin markings glowed with emotion. With my mind, heart, and spirit, I choose you as my life partner across the stars. Allison repeated the words in careful Azurian, then added the human tradition. I take you to be my husband, to share all that is to come, for all the days of our lives. When they were pronounced married, they touched foreheads in the Azurian way, then kissed in the human tradition. The crowd erupted in cheers and celebration. The reception that followed was unlike any in human history. Representatives from 200 species mingled, sharing food, music, and stories. Earth's president announced that in honor of the historic union, Earth would be granted full Federation membership ahead of schedule. Zorax and Allison have shown us that differences can bring strength, not division, the president said in her toast. Today, humanity takes its place among the stars, not just as visitors, but as family. Later that evening, as they shared a quiet moment away from the crowds, Zorax presented Allison with a gift, a small crystal containing a holographic map of the galaxy. What would you think about starting something new? He asked. An interspecies cultural exchange program. We could help others build bridges between worlds like we did. Allison smiled. I think we'd be perfect for that job. We've had plenty of practice. 1 year later, the program was flourishing. Dozens of exchange centers had opened across the galaxy. Interspecies relationships, while still uncommon, were no longer hidden or forbidden. In their apartment overlooking the Pacific Ocean, Allison and Zorax were meeting with Dr. Alan White, now heading a new field of xenobiology. The tests confirm it, he said excitedly. You're going to have a child, the first human Azurian baby in history. It's a medical miracle. As Dr. White left, Allison and Zorax stood by the window, looking out at the ocean and up at the stars beyond. Our child will belong to 2 worlds, Zorax said, placing his hand gently on Allison's stomach. No, Allison corrected with a smile. Our child will belong to the galaxy, just like us. Above them, the stars sparkled like possibilities waiting to be discovered. Their story, which had begun as a diplomatic assignment, had changed the course of galactic history, all because 2 beings from different worlds had been brave enough to follow their hearts.